This is the Solid Signal podcast for the week of April 27th, 2020. And I've got a little bit of an off-topic podcast to give you this week. I've been pretty good lately, trying to stay on topic, trying to do my part to sell products from solidsignal.com. I still wish you would go ahead and shop there for all of your work from home accessories and everything that you'll need when you finally decide that it's time to head back to the office. But I'm going to stretch a little bit, as I am occasionally want to do, and give you a little bit of an opinion, something that has very little to do with technology, but hey, every so often I kind of go off the rails, and those tend to be the podcasts that get the highest number of listens. This one's not incredibly cranky, though. I do tend to do a lot of cranky podcasts, and lately I haven't been feeling super cranky. I've been feeling super grateful that we're all still here together and that things didn't get a whole lot worse. I am hoping that within the next 2 to 3 weeks, most of us will be starting to look at a near-term future where we return to work. Now, that may happen sooner, and it may happen later. I'm not quite sure. But I think we're, as a whole, state by state, going to find a sweet spot fairly soon where we can find a way to return to some semblance of normalcy. The experts say it's not going to be exactly the same as it was, and that's okay because, it's a step in the right direction. And as we move forward, and we're still probably about a year away from being completely putting this in the rearview mirror, but as we move forward, life will progressively get more and more normal. We'll feel more and more comfortable. And at that moment when you prepare to set foot in an office that you haven't set foot in months, or a store or a restaurant, it's time to make a very conscious decision. The decision is, what did you learn? What do you take with you? And what do you leave behind? I think it would be a real shame in a lot of ways if we were to go back to just the way things were exactly. I know for myself that, as I said, I've become a lot more grateful in the last couple of months for the simple stuff, for finding something that you like at the supermarket, or for just sitting down to dinner, or staring outside at a whole bunch of flowers beginning to bloom, for rain or even for snow. It's something where we all had to stop and look at what was important. And I think a lot of us did. And it would be a shame if we left that behind and went back to really just grumbling about stuff that didn't really matter so much. On the other hand, one thing that I think we should be leaving behind is that sense of dread that was honestly very pervasive even before we all started locking ourselves in our homes. The last several years have been really punishing for a lot of people. And I'm not necessarily talking about politics. I'm not necessarily not talking about them. But I think the world has become an increasingly confusing place. Now, I'm not saying we should forget about all the things that are wrong and all the things that we need to fix. But I think that an overabundance, an obsession with the negativity without realizing the positivity that's out there at the same time is a mistake as well. And I think that as we move forward, we will all be a lot more glad for the things that we do have, even as we work forward on the things that we don't. I think that another thing we will come to realize about this time period is that pretty much the entire planet, wherever possible, came together in the spirit of fixing one particular problem. Now, it's a shame that it was such a big problem to begin with, but keep in mind that we still did. Laboratories all over the world are working on solving the medical side of this. Factories from Algeria to Zanzibar, they'll put it that way, are working on providing more protective personal equipment so we have it when we need it. We've all become a lot more conscious of our personal hygiene. We've all become a lot more conscious of making sure that we have the space that we need whenever we can. None of these are bad things, and these are not things that we should leave behind. As a matter of fact, we should try to take all of that with us. There's another random rambling I wanted to make while I was getting through this podcast, and then I'll let all of you go back to your homes, I suppose. And it was very common 2 months ago to talk about how this all seemed like some sort of a movie. Whether or not you quoted Outbreak or Independence Day or, Night of the Living Dead was mentioned a number of times. But any time that there was a movie where you really saw some sort of extremely quick and unexpected natural disaster that everyone was completely unprepared for, that movie's going to get quoted. And yet, the thing that we have to think about is that we also came together the way that a lot of these movies have people coming together. If you look at Independence Day or Contagion or Outbreak, or where we as a people tend to succeed, it's by coming together toward a common purpose, rallying, putting aside the things that are different about us and aren't really that important right now, and just working on a solution. We did that. And I'm not going to say that we're done. That would be silly. We're obviously not. However, we are moving toward a solution. The news seems to get better every day as I record this podcast, and I think that's going to continue with a couple of setbacks, I'm sure, but it's going to continue. Meantime, we just have to all think about what we take away from this and what we leave behind. That's it for the podcast this week. A little bit weird, a little bit different from what you normally get. I hope you like it. And if you do, leave a comment wherever you happen to get this podcast, whether it's on an aggregator, on YouTube, on the Solid Signal blog, whatever. Let me know what you think about it. Like and subscribe if you're on the YouTube channel. It's always appreciated. And I look forward to talking even more to all of you next week.